Hello, and welcome back to Yapology 101. This is episode 10, and in this episode, I'm going to be talking about cringe culture and how cringe culture reinforces that being creative is embarrassing and that we shouldn't do that as not to embarrass ourselves. Now, I think cringe culture is a topic that is very layered. I think there are some opportunities where something is objectively cringeworthy and it's not necessarily bullying to point that out, but I think we go a little too far labeling things as cringe. There are obviously very obvious instances of cringe. I'm not going to lie and say I've never indulged in a cringe compilation or two. Sometimes I do that. But when I do that, I am taken by a need to be a little self-aware as to why I'm doing that. Why do I need to feed myself with someone else's cringe, someone else's embarrassing moment? Is it to alleviate the fact that I have had embarrassing and cringe moments, to make me feel like I'm less alone in partaking in this laughing at someone else's cringe? I feel less alone in my own. Is that why I do it? Is it to separate myself from a cringier past version of myself and to think, oh man, I could never be like this anymore. I've surpassed this level. I'll never be this cringe again. To almost make yourself feel superior to those who you deem cringe so you can never be linked to being cringe ever again. That's what it got me thinking, because during middle school and high school, oh my God, I was so fucking cringe. Now, I almost forgot how cringe I actually was until what was it? Snapchat memories. I looked back upon some Snapchat memories that were on my old phone, my old Snapchat account. Going back from like age 14 until age 20. And those Snapchat memories were a huge slap in the face to my ego. I completely erased that person, that version of myself, to the point where I felt like I was watching videos of a stranger that I'd never seen before. It was literally like watching a new show, an unreleased, leaked footage of something. But it was just videos that I had taken when I was in middle school or high school and saved on my Snapchat. And I sat there for the whole night just watching the cringe and cringing over it and regretting my entire life, until I realized that version of me needed to exist for me to be able to actualize who I am, to understand who I am. Without that cringe version of me that makes me want to shrivel up and die, I wouldn't know a lot of things about myself. I wouldn't know why I am the way I am. I wouldn't know what led me to be this way. I might not even be this way. I might be completely different, if I completely shut off that part of myself, or even never have experienced that part of myself in fear of being cringe. And this is where I'm going to start talking about young kids these days, Gen Alpha. And the thing is with Gen Alpha is I'm not sure if they're being able to experience this cringe phase. I'm not sure if they're allowing themselves, because I feel like cringe culture has reached quite a peak. And these kids are just developing in a way where they're understanding the world around them. And they know that their personal actions will stick and people will remember those things about them, and it will shape their character and how people perceive who they are. They're very hip to like self-image, self-branding. Gen Alpha knows what they're doing. But what I'm seeing is none of them are cringe. None of them are embarrassing. They're all almost like perfectly polished, nonchalant figures. And I only noticed this within my siblings. It's like they're naturally a kind of cringe because they're kids. Kids will always have a little bit of natural cringe. But the natural cringe, opposed to the cringe that I exhibited at that age, were light years apart. Like, I was literally acting like I worked at BuzzFeed or something. I was acting literally crazily unhinged. And that word I haven't used since then, unhinged. That's not a word that many use anymore, at risk of sounding millennial. But what was I saying? Yeah, we were just light years apart in terms of being cringe. Like, I was cringe in a very overt, loud way, like a Steven Universe self-insert OC type of cringe. I was real cringe. I literally cosplayed Steven Universe, gender bended, like, and it was the worst cosplay of all time. I literally went for Halloween. I dressed up as Castiel from Supernatural. You know, the guy who's an angel with a trench coat? That guy. I did a gender bend of him. I got a beige trench coat and nurse shoes from the thrift store and jeans, and that's what I wore. And then I trick-or-treated like that. Nobody knew who the fuck I was. Oh, but I also got, and fuck Amazon, but back then I did order black angel wings on Amazon. I'm not sure if they were black or white. I really can't remember, but I know that he has the wings. And I used to read a lot of actually gay fan fiction about him. But anyways, where was I going with that? Yeah, I was incredibly fucking cringe. Like, I was the cringiest of all time. Like, you know, when I saw that clip that was like, who the fuck is Coco? I didn't know there was a Coco at our school. She's supposed to be like the pinnacle of cringy, embarrassing girl. Then if I had ever been filmed and put on the internet and a clip of me had went viral from that period of time, it would have shattered the earth in terms of how cringe it was. It would have become the ultimate cringe videos. I hope to never leak these videos. They're absolutely horrendous and just terrible. Like, literally up until I was 19 or 20, I was so fucking cringe. Yeah, such an annoying person. But I feel like I had to be really annoying because it informed who I was. See, what was interesting is during middle school, I was really bad at public speaking. Like, I did not do well in presentations. I could not articulate myself very well. Isn't that crazy? I could not articulate myself very well. I was very shy. I never thought like I could do public speaking or speak to a camera or like speak out loud. That was so out of my depth and realm, I thought. But I think I had to think that for a while. Like, if I had become a prodigy at public speaking too early, I wouldn't have been able to talk about the things I want to talk about, probably. So it's probably a blessing that I wasn't a child prodigy. I feel like there's a lot of mistaken, I don't know, like positive admiration for child prodigies when really it's like you're a child prodigy, and once you're an adult, you feel super lost because you already done everything as a child prodigy. Like, child prodigies, overhyped, because when you are kind of a late bloomer, you're able to, I don't know, you're able to have, in my opinion, a more compelling story. Although child prodigies are cool, that's pretty cool. I think it's a lot more human and interesting when you're just like taking your time and you're gaining skills throughout life, and maybe it's not something that's always came to you, but then it came to you at the right time. You know what I mean? But I think that's what I meant in terms of my cringe, is that it came to me in the right time and left me at the right time too. But I'm still able to indulge in a bit of cringe. My favorite types of cringe is doing noises like that. And doing things like, you know, silly things like things that someone's dad might think is funny. I like doing stuff like that. And if I were to not be able to let myself do that, you know, or scat or beatbox, if I didn't allow myself to do things like that, then my life would be miserable and I would just be sad. Like, I think the main thing is that, yeah, okay, you might have been cringe in the past and then you accept it and you're no longer cringe. But I feel like that's not realistic. Like, every human being has a little bit of cringe to them. You know, like a little bit of cringe to them. And that's okay. And that might be like the worst clip of me ever uploaded online. But I guess I'm okay with that because that's just the nature of life. Sometimes you have to get a little cringe. Sometimes you have to be seen in a way that's not so nonchalant and so sexy. Like, oh, I'm so sexy and hot and cool all the time. Gets really, really boring. And it's just kind of makes things, what is the word? It encourages stagnancy. Cultural stagnancy. That's the way I would put it. Because, okay, this is a really weird example, but take Markiplier, okay? Markiplier is low-key oh God, I don't know what I'm about to say. A low-key a legend, right? Okay. We already know that his mom wrote a book stating that he could like levitate spoons and things when he was a child. But we know that he's like on the internet pretty oh my God. It's almost like God doesn't want me to say this. What's going on? Should I not say that about Markiplier? I was going to say that he's legendary on the internet, But I would say a lot of his legendary moments come from a natural sort of cringe that he exudes. I think a lot of the things that people love about him is the cringiest parts of his personality and his weirdest quirks. And I think that's the thing that we pretend that we hate. But for the most part, when you see someone like, I don't know, you see like a YouTuber or content creator or something start rising up in popularity, and you'll see their clips and be like, you'll almost think this person's a little bit corny. You know what I mean? You'll almost think, oh, this is kind of corny. But the whole point is that people love that. People love the corn. People love the cheese. You're probably going to start liking them. You're just being a cynic. You're being a cynic in the early stages because you don't want to seem like a fan, and then you start watching their vlogs a few weeks later. After saying they're corny or saying they're cringe, I see you. I know what you're doing. And I've been this person before. If I've done it, I know someone else has done it. That's how because there's no original experience. And there can't be that many varied experiences. There has to be a lot of experiences that overlap tons and tons of people a day. And I feel like that's one of them, is being like an underground hater, and saying that you hate people for the same things that you admire them for. You know what I mean? That's really very common. And that's why I think cringe is one of those things that is always going to be policed, because people want to feel that just that free to express themselves in a way, even if they end up looking cringe or being cringe, they want that. They want that freedom. They want that what's going on? That carefree essence. They want to feel carefree. Who doesn't want to feel carefree? But a lot of us can't move past that embarrassment factor that real freedom comes at a price of being cringe. You have to be a little bit cringe. You have to be a little bit out there. You have to be able to let yourself be seen in different ways. I wouldn't say you can't have a reputation. I just think if your reputation is you never, ever, ever have fun, nobody's gonna fucking care. Like literally nobody cares, you know? So especially when it comes to this online thing, I feel like nobody, and this is a weird example too. If Franz Kafka started a YouTube channel, do you think anyone would watch it? Do you think anyone would watch it? It would be like watching Review of the Week, but way sadder, and probably not about food. No offense to Franz Kafka, rest in peace, and his fans and his estate. But I just don't think that, you need, as much as you need sad boys who write, you also need carefree people who cringe out loud and don't care. You need the outrageous woman, which is actually a video idea I have. Have you seen this thing about the outrageous woman meme? I don't know. I've been seeing like the good versions of it. I saw some people saying, oh, this is going to become misogynistic. You just wait, which I don't like, because it like, why are you anticipating that this is going to turn misogynistic? Like, you're evil. But I want to look into it and see if it actually has. And maybe I'll make a video about it. But like those type of archetypes, the carefree person, the independent person, the free person, the outrageous woman, anyone who's like living loudly and proudly and boldly and just in your face about it, to the point where other people might perceive it as cringe for sure. But that doesn't necessarily make it bad. Just because it's cringe, it doesn't mean it's bad. That's another thing. Now that we associate cringe with overwhelmingly negative ideas, we feel like we can't be cringe or we will be bad. There's no room for cringe when it comes to greatness. But that's also not true. There's a bunch of cringe ass clips of like the greats out there. That doesn't mean they're not great anymore. It just means like being cringe is being human, and not even that, but situations where cringe occurs, sometimes it can't be avoided. It's just like normal human interaction stuff. Sometimes you're going to end up in a situation that feels utterly cringe. And what are you going to do about it? It depends on how you play it off. It depends on whatever the fuck. If you lean into the cringe, that's one way. If you can choose your, you can choose the way you're going to go about that. But it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just a thing that exists. And the thing about it, though, is that it's not just a thing that exists that's completely neutral. I think it can be very positive in some ways. Allowing yourself to be cringe, allowing yourself to, I don't know, not worry about coming off as cool. Because it's another thing is like, what does it matter if someone else thinks you're cool, and do you even think you're cool? That's what matters first. And to be able to like actually love yourself through cringe, that's going to build up your like cool-o-meter. Like you're going to get cooler and cooler because you're going to be more confident. Like coolness, it just comes from like, I guess, an understated confidence, like, or like a will or a drive or like a passion. That's really all it comes from, being cool, It's not all about like being nonchalant and quiet and mysterious. That's not all what it's about. You can't really like reach that potential of coolness you want to reach unless you're confident first. And you can't really be confident if you hate, like you love yourself in some states, but you hate yourself in others. That's not confidence. That's just cherry picking. You're not really being confident. You're not really, to be confident is to accept yourself in any state, And I feel like we're fed a really warped view of confidence where it's like, if you don't like something about yourself, just change it. But in my opinion, I think personality-wise, yes. I feel like you should change things that are a detriment to your life. Things that are making your life worse because they're a part of your perceived personality that you've built around yourself. That you're like, oh, this has to be me because this is who I believe I am, right? That's not necessarily always true, and you can change that. And it can make your life like majorly better. What I think a lot of the information that's being sold to us is, if this is all about your physicality. If you don't like something about yourself, change it. Get plastic surgery. Chop off your nose. Like burn your eyeballs. And it's like, Jesus Christ, I wish we would start applying that to our personality traits rather than our physicality. Because one thing is like, a lot of people also feel cringe in, how would I say, in association with their looks, with how they look. They're like, oh, this video of me is so cringe, or this frame of me is so cringe, or this photo of me is so cringe. But it's like, you also have to remember, you're kind of distorted in an image. It's like perspective. It's like where you are. You're not going to look fucking cool in a family photo. Get over it. Like, you're never going to look cool in that situation. You're going to look like you're with your family. That's the whole purpose. Just smile and get on with it. You can take your cool, nonchalant pictures on your own time. Not everything needs to be like a carefully curated facade of who you are all the time. Like in the pursuit to eliminate cringe completely from our lives, we are creating fake lives, completely fake lives. Like, oh no, I never go on family vacations. I've never been on one of those. Well, some people haven't, but you know what I mean. I never spend time with my family. I'm a party person. I just go to parties. You can see that on my Instagram, but don't look up my Facebook, because then you'll see cringe photos of me and my family at like a Holiday Inn. Like, nobody cares. It's okay. It's not going to ruin your like cool, mysterious persona. It's just going to remind me, oh yeah, you're like a human being with a family, and like certain times in your life when you're a kid, you're not going to have the opportunity to opt out of those situations. But it's just like, I don't know, it just like drains the normalcy out of everything and the authenticity, because like that's pretty authentic, is like having random pictures of you from Facebook from like 10 years ago come back up, and they're awful, but it's like, that was you at some point in your life. That was a part of your life. It's not really the end of the world. And yes, it was cringe, but it's like, okay, it's a part of life. And the more that we stop cowering away from this cringe and like accept it, we can move forward. We can move on. We can foster creativity in our lives and everyone else's lives. We like the way that, and I hate to say this, but the way that 2020 fostered creativity, and it was weird because it was almost like the isolation, but the community fostered creativity, because as much as people were isolated, I feel like people were finding crazy community on the internet because there were more people online than ever. And I feel like the internet created a lot of potential for self-expression. But a lot of the self-expression now from 2020, I see a lot of people talking about it and saying that, yeah, this was so cringe. I can't believe we used to dress like that. I can't believe we used to makeup like that. Blah, blah, blah. Remember this trend? This was so cringe. The micro trend. This was so cringe. But it's like that was just what was popular at the time, because of course all the clothes were going to look like internet culture clothes because everyone was online all the time. There was no reference for real life clothes and makeup. It was all about the internet. No one was outside. You know what I mean? Where are people going to take their inspiration from? That's how we, I don't know, like farm creativity. And the moment that something is farmed, we want to shoot it down with some sort of cynicism. It's like, oh, this is so cringe. This is so cringe. It's like we do that to every single cycle. It repeats and repeats and repeats. And it's like, is whatever is new is what's not cringe? It's just what's new. And then everything that's old is cringe. But also what's new is cringe. But also what's popular is cringe. But also what's not popular is cringe. Do you understand? You have to walk such a fine line to avoid absolutely anything that is cringe, that you can never actually indulge in anything you may like. Fuck. And I'm not I mean, even things like Has Been Hotel, people should be allowed to like that. And I'm saying that regrettably, like very regrettably, like people should be allowed to like that. Oh, what's the song? Give me a fucking cheeseburger. Boom, 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 boom. Do you guys know that song? I don't think that's actually Has Been Hotel, but they have a lot of songs that are really similar to that one. But it's just like people should be allowed to like cringe ass shit, you know? I once knew this girl who's obsessed with, what was the show? What's that show with that guy with he's an anime character from like the 70s. He has like long legs, really long legs, and he's white, but he's not Japanese. Okay. Is it Conan? Detective? No, there's a grown man version. He was some sort of other detective. Lupin. I knew this one girl, and this is no shade to her. She was pretty cool. We talked about like I think it was Sunny Angel. She made pants for Sunny Angels, and she was obsessed with Lupin the Third. And I thought, dang, that is a weirdly specific thing to be obsessed with. And it almost like I thought for a second, is it cringe to be weirdly obsessed with something really like small and niche and like that nobody gives a fuck about? I wondered, because I also liked shit like that, but I thought, is this cringe? Like, for instance, I like, there's one right here. I like this kids show, Marco-chan, right? Nobody fucking likes this at all anymore. Nobody watches it. As well as, you guys probably recognize Shin-chan, which is another kids cartoon from the 70s from Japan, whatever. But anyways, these shows have such a little community. Like, it's like that meme, the community of this show could fit on a bus or could fit in a bathroom stall, right? And it's true, because I even tried to join Reddits for these shows, because I was like, people are going to post fan art. People are going to post cool merch and figurines, blah, 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 and like clips from the show. I was excited. And then it was just a bunch of like spam posting for like, I don't know, spam links to do like fake lottery stuff. It was just bullshit. It had nothing to do with it. So I thought, damn, in that aspect, I am just as cringe. Like, I am just as cringe. I'm trying to single-handedly run a Reddit for a dead cartoon. And although Lupin the Third and Shin-chan are not unpopular in East Asia, I mean, in places like China and Japan, they're still wildly popular. So why does it become cringe when you're in the West liking something that is still wildly popular in the East but is not popular in the West? You know, that's another thing with anime. It seems like the only anime that you can like are the popular ones in the West. If you don't like them, or if you like ones that are not popular in the West yet or whatever, you are cringe and you're not watching socially acceptable anime. See, this is where it gets us, and it's not, we're not able to express our creativity anymore or be different in any way. because it is seen as cringe to go beyond whatever is assigned for you. But then again, whatever is assigned, they'll be like, Demon Slayer is cringe, Chainsaw Man is cringe, One Piece is cringe. It's like, you don't want us to like mainstream things, but you also don't want us to like things that aren't currently mainstream. And you don't want us to like things that were popular in the past, but you don't want us to like things that were unpopular in the past. It's like there are so many guidelines for not falling into cringe and not being like an archetype. Nobody wants to be a specific archetype. That's also considered cringe. And there's so many archetypes these days that it feels like almost anyone could probably fit into one of these archetypes, even a little bit. So what's the point of adhering to the archetypes, letting them run your life, letting them make you think you can never make a mistake or cringe or, do something embarrassing? What the fuck is the point? I don't see that there is actually an inherent point there, like a good enough point not to be cringe and not to let that side of yourself be seen. The only point that I would understand is like that's a special part to be shared between yourself and your loved ones only. Like that's also valid. But if you're doing it out of a fear of being embarrassed in front of other people and it's stopping you from being authentically you and expressing yourself and being creative, then there's no point in indulging in it and there's no point in adhering to it. You actually do have a choice. You don't have to live by the rules of the cringe agenda. You can do whatever the hell you want to do. It doesn't, well, I mean, of course, there are certain guidelines. Don't do unethical, horrible things, but do things that feed your soul, whether or not it is considered cringe, because other people's perception of you and the thing that you like to do should be the last thing on your mind if you truly have a passion for it. But I know that it can be hard because social pressure is very heavy and humans are social animals. We want to not be exiled from society. But as long as that you have maybe a couple people by your side, I think you'll be completely fine. And I think even if you were at risk of losing people from being yourself, because you were considered cringe, those people are better off not in your life anyways. But I think what I wanted to say in this episode was do the thing that you want to do, even if it is considered cringe, and do it proudly. And regardless of if it ends up in a cringe compilation or not, I think you should do it anyways. What does it really matter? That cringe compilation is just going to be lost in a sea of YouTube videos. There's like a million gajillion YouTube videos and a million gajillion TikToks. And it's not the end of the world. You're just tunnel visioned. You're just tunnel visioned. It's very easy to become disillusioned and tunnel visioned when you're on the internet. And just what you need to basically do is break out of that tunnel vision perspective and mindset and try and be objective and realize that it's not the end of the world and that only a small percentage of the world may know of your cringe, embarrassing moment. And those people shouldn't matter to you. You're probably never, ever going to meet them in real life. And even if you do, you should have the resilience to be able to face them and not crumble, because your self-image should be stronger than that. You know what I mean? But I guess that's all I wanted to say about cringe culture, being yourself, regardless of the cringe guidelines, doing what you want to do, regardless of the cringe consequences and public shaming. But thank you for watching this episode. I want to say, I guess, we didn't do journal prompts last time, I don't think, unless we did, but I'm going to be doing a journal prompt. When was the last time that you felt deeply embarrassed? / when was the last time you felt cringe? I think that should be just a simple journal prompt because it's pretty straightforward of a topic. And I feel like all of us have 1 or 2 or 3 or a billion moments like that in our lives that we could reflect on and could pay off to reflect on. But thank you for watching. I just want to say I really appreciate everything. I hit 50K followers on TikTok, so I want to say thank you so much for that. It means the world to me. I am trying to set a lot of focus on YouTube going forward. I've been working on tons and tons of video scripts. So those video scripts are going to be made into videos, and then you'll see those videos. And if you want updates on that, You can either join my bulletin board on TikTok, as I've now been granted a bulletin board that gives you notifications anytime I post a YouTube video or there are new updates about my community or whatever direction I'm going in. You can also join my Discord for more information and for a fun community of really nice people. If you're mean, please don't join. I'd really like if you don't join if you're mean. But I would like to say, I would appreciate it if you would like, subscribe, and comment for the algorithm. And I will see you next Sunday. Goodbye.